Hello and welcome to Quays News. I'm Callie Marie Traynor.
And I'm Charlotte Lineker. Our top story tonight is about public transport in the days of COVID. Buses and trains have just not been the same since lockdown. The wearing of face coverings has been mandatory in England since the 15th of June.
But not everybody is willing to follow this rule, leading many to instead take their bikes. But what has driven this decision? Our transport correspondent Oliver Yard has been finding out more. This will now be coming up on the show later today. Head over to our Twitter page, Quays News, to share your thoughts and vote on our live poll. Now, Salford University Society Almost Famous has spoken to Emily Bertley about the challenging times that they have faced during the pandemic.
The days of performing in theatres to large crowds may seem a distant memory to many, but at least Almost Famous Drama Society are able to carry on virtually with a chance of being able to perform next year.
It's not been easy, but I think we've managed okay. It's really difficult because as a performance society, everything is very physical and in person, or that's how we want to have it. So we're trying to keep it as social as possible and as societal as possible. AF is such an important thing to so many people, and I wasn't going to allow us giving up at all. It wasn't just going to happen, because I think especially this year we're all sat inside our rooms kind of 24/7, just with only basically uni to do.
Across Manchester, theatres, galleries, museums and cultural venues remain closed, resulting in financial difficulties, leaving many to question what future there is for theatre.
I think it's really important that we maintain that kind of group morale, that we're all in this together and willing to kind of not give up the fight on the arts. Both our shows, we've moved them to May now because we can't rehearse in person for the first semester. But this obviously depends on so many things, on the SU, the uni, government guidelines, all of that we're dependent on.
Emily Bertley, Quays News.
The realities of COVID-19 are becoming clear for many businesses, but it hasn't slowed things down for Roxy Ballroom. The brand new leisure facility opened its doors over the weekend after all the closing of a well-known Manchester nightclub. Jake Pengathman has been to check it out.
Vegas-style shows, flamboyant drag artists and cabaret nights. Once the home of the exclusive Birdcage nightclub, the site now has a much different purpose. After waving goodbye in May 2019, a new fun-filled attraction is here to take its place. Located on the site of the former prestigious Birdcage nightclub, Roxy Leisure have gone where most businesses have not during this pandemic in opening a second Manchester location. The Roxy Ballroom brand already has a successful games bar in Deansgate, but it's hoping its new jam-packed centre will prove to be just as popular.
So what would you say makes the Roxy Ballroom unique?
Three major things: it's good games, good food and good drinks, good times, good music. There's nowhere that's dedicated that has different games like shuffleboard, dedicated beer pong tables, and we've got a few new things in. We've got a rock and roller arcade and a brand new concept called Crazy Pool. We've gone and followed every guideline to the letter, make sure we keep, most importantly, our staff and the customers safe, track and trace, everything in the same place. So we're pretty much good to go on that.
The brave move to open a new set of doors may come as a surprise to most. Not only is it during the tough lockdown restrictions, it follows the recent closure of All-Star Lanes, once one of Manchester's hottest bowling alleys. The decision impacted many local bowling groups.
The group was set up at the back end of 2017 by my husband Mark and I when we moved to Manchester, and we didn't really know anybody, so we thought, what's a good way to make some friends? Bowling we sort of landed on. We thought, do you know what, it's really sociable, we can have a few drinks while we're playing, meet some people, all this kind of stuff. We were at the All-Star Lanes for probably the last 18 months, and we were just absolutely devastated when we found out that it wasn't going to be reopening again after lockdown. It's really exciting to hear that there's going to be another one opening, that there's going to be bowling in there. What we don't know at the moment is whether it's going to have the capacity to take 40 people there across 6 lanes for a couple of games. I think we're not alone in that there are countless groups who really just want to be in a room with each other at the moment, whether that's bowling or whether we're just actually able to give each other a hug and say, mate, I missed you. That's something I think we're all looking forward to.
But with Roxy ready and waiting, it may not be the final strike just yet for these bowling fanatics.
And now we have a report from Oliver Youd about the increase in biking during the pandemic.
Reimposed on our region, and with hospital admission rates surpassing those seen in March of this year, the idea of travelling on crowded public transport is becoming less and less appealing, with many opting to instead use private vehicles, such as bikes.
This is my bus pass. It makes life awfully easy. I simply hop on a bus, scan it, and away I go. But as time goes on, the buses are given more and more reasons to be full, and thus social distancing can become impossible. There are many people, therefore, who are arguing that perhaps there are safer, and in many cases healthier, ways to get from A to B.
100%. There's no one around me. I'm completely on my own. I'm not forced to sit by other people. Even just a bus's unreliability as well sometimes. There's certain roads that are a bit kind of dodgy and that you second guess before you go down, but I think just because I've been doing it for a while now, I kind of understand how it works and that it's not as bad as it looks. There were definitely a few times where, like I said, I didn't feel too safe riding my bike around, but it's mainly that the big dual carriageways and stuff by the uni.
When I worked in Bury and Rochdale, I used to cycle to work then. It's just always been part of my life.
Would you feel safer on your bike?
No, because there's too many idiots on the road. But when I cycle, I'm coming into Harewood from work today. It's like there's lights and there's traffic, and they do not give you any leeway. You know what I mean?
The drivers.
Some do, some don't. Especially vans. Vans are very ignorant, and BMWs.
In a statement for Quays News, transport operator Arriva said, "The safety of our customers and employees continues to be the priority for Arriva. The wearing of face coverings continues to be mandatory for customers whilst using public transport. Our drivers report all failures to comply with government policy to their depot management team to allow us to closely monitor the situation and advise the authorities." Whilst these new measures show no sign of being eased anytime soon, it is hoped that these vital services will be able to keep running and keep Manchester moving. Oliver Youd, Quays News.
Today, the new three-tier local lockdown system comes to force in England. Boris Johnson said in Parliament on Monday, this is to help the NHS from being overwhelmed.
If we were to follow that course, Mr. Speaker, and let the virus rip, then the bleak mathematics dictate that we would suffer not only an intolerable death toll from COVID, we would put such a huge strain on our NHS with an uncontrolled second spike that our doctors and nurses would be simply unable to devote themselves to other treatments for cancer, for heart disease, and hundreds more.
Boris Johnson also said the whole of Greater Manchester has been placed on high alert level on Tier 2 for the latest COVID-19 restrictions. The government also advises to wash your hands for 20 seconds, wear a face covering and remain 2 metres apart.
England's new three-tier COVID local lockdown system. Affected areas in Tier 1 will follow the same rules as before. Areas who face Tier 2 restrictions will not be able to mix with other households indoors unless part of the same support bubble. And the rule of 6 only continues outdoors. Areas who will face Tier 3 restrictions will be similar to prior lockdown in March, but shops, schools, colleges and universities will remain open, and pubs and bars will be closed except where substantial meals. The coronavirus
This October, yet again, the guidelines of the coronavirus have changed, leaving many citizens confused all over again. How long do you think the isolation period is if you test positive?
I'm sure it's meant to be 10 days, but it's 2 weeks that most people do.
14 days. Do you know what it means to be in Tier 1, 2 and 3?
Ish. I feel like I don't really know if bars and stuff are staying open or not. I know that we're meant to mix outside, but I don't really know about anything else.
Kind of, again, but I sort of broad sort of idea of it, but I wouldn't say it's clear enough for us to understand it.
Well, there's two things we groups. Tier 2 is a little one and Tier 1 is pretty much the same as normal.
Medium, high and very high in Manchester Square.
Yeah. What tier are we putting at the moment? We're in Tier 2. Do you agree with being put in Tier 2? I think we should be in Tier 2.
No, I'm 50-50 with it actually. I sort of texted my mate about it. I don't know, I can see both sides.
I can see Manchester going into Tier 3 eventually, and I think he's actually going to use this to be like, oh, you're Tier 3, but now you're Tier 2. I think it's going to get really confusing because he's going to change his mind a lot, to be honest.
Yes. I think we have to do something, don't we? So I think it'll probably last. Yeah, probably till after. I think there's still a different side here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to change it.
Do you think that the rules are confusing? Or do you think they're more simple now with this 3-tier system?
I think they're simpler. I don't know what you think.
No, I've thought about that before because people are always
I think they're slightly easier to understand, but there's still varying levels of confusion.
I think, okay, I know what tier I'm in, I know what I should be doing. So yeah, I do think it's clearer now.
The coronavirus has already caused much uncertainty for many people, no more so than for those working in hospitality. I went to find out more.
What's usually filled with after-work drinks and evening dates? These are now the streets, pubs and restaurants of central Manchester after the new COVID-19 rules have been announced.
On Monday afternoon, Boris Johnson announced the new 3-tier lockdown system. Greater Manchester has fallen into Tier 2, which means that our risk is classed as high. Pubs and restaurants are no longer allowed to have 2 or more households in a meeting inside. However, you are allowed to meet in private gardens so long as the rule of 6 and social distancing guidelines are followed. What we'd like to find out is there a correlation between the transmission of the coronavirus and the hospitality industry?
We asked the public their thoughts on the new lockdown measures in pubs and restaurants and if they think that it's going to help reduce the number of coronavirus cases.
Overall, it's too late. I think there's no point, essentially. The cases have already gone up. If he was going to do this all like Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1 system, it should have been done as the cases were going up, not at the very end.
We spoke to an anonymous source who told us about the impact of lockdown on their restaurant.
We are unsure about the effects the restrictions will have on us moving forward. Initially, the furlough scheme was the right thing to do. We then opened for takeaway, leaving 15 of our staff on flexible furlough. Unfortunately, 11 of those have had to be laid off. In the long run, the scheme has been a negative impact for our team.
We can only hope that these new measures will help stop the spread of coronavirus so that we can all get back to our local.
Cheering up children across Greater Manchester, Luby Lou the Clown has adapted to new COVID-19 regulations. Instead of the children going to her, she's going to them. Annie Walker reports.
When it comes to making an entrance, this children's entertainer is an expert. Instead of visiting the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital and parties across Greater Manchester as usual, Luby Lou has decided not to let COVID-19 stop her from doing her job, so has put her giggles on wheels.
Magic, what I talk about is the connection what I have with the children and adults, and when you see people having a good time, smiles on the faces, that's my job done.
Whilst happy to still be doing what she loves, there is still a concern for when she can return to the children that need her most.
I went into panic mode, especially when my hospital visits got cancelled, because I've been there for 22 years, every single week visiting poorly children, and that when that got cancelled and I got the message, it was like, right, this is serious now. And
since COVID has struck, Luby Lou has had to adapt her business like many others, turning to online Zoom calls and doorstep visits. Today she is driving around Greater Manchester in Lee, spreading her magic. With over 3,000 likes on her Facebook page, she has visited children throughout Greater Manchester, including Pride of Britain award holder and Britain's Got Talent contestant Ella Chadwick.
local cake company, so with the cake company I was donating a visit each week to somebody who's in isolation. Or so I visited Ella Chadwick, and it's on YouTube, have a look at the video. It's just like she's sat at the doorstep and she's going, "This is just the best day ever."
For many, the plea for normal life to return is desperate. But in the meantime, this club will continue to lift the spirits of children and adults alike. Annie Mae Walker, Quays News.
That's all from us this week.
Goodbye.